And last, I will explain a difficult problem which is found in one of our worksheets. Actually, it is a game which you can find in the fun store of the Ocean Park. And the player just throw a coin towards a grid of square. And if the coin overlaps the grid lines of the square, then the player will lose. And if the coin does not overlap the grid lines, or even if it touches the grid line, then the player will win the prize. And now we have to find the probability of winning a prize, given that the coin is now laid on the grid. And note that the dimensions of the grid is now given. It is a square of 5 cm by 5 cm. And the diameter of the coin is 4 cm. That means the radius is 2 cm. And now we can examine the problem in details. And suppose we have a coin here, which is 4 cm in diameter. And the grid of square is 5 cm by 5 cm. And now we know that the coin can be anywhere on the grid of square. For example, if the coin is in a position like this one, then we can see that it overlaps with the grid of square, so the player will lose. And if the coin is somewhere like this, then we can see that the perimeter of the coin does not overlap the square, then the player will win. So how can we determine whether the square or the circle or the coin will overlap or does not overlap the square? So let us look at the marginal case first. And suppose now the coin is something like this. It just touches the size of the square and it is in a win position. And this is another marginal case, another marginal case, another marginal case. So if the square, if the coin is lying inside within this boundary, then the player will win. But actually, it is quite difficult to express the concept of whether the circumference of the coin touches the square. Therefore, we use another concept, another important aspect of the circle, which is the center of the coin. And again, if we now move the coin in this way, that's right. And you can see that actually the center of the coin cannot lie too far away from the center. It cannot lie too far away from the center. If the center moves beyond some area, then the perimeter will intersect with the grid of squares. So we can just focus on the center of the coin. And now we can actually see that the center of the circle actually cannot just move away from this red square. If it is beyond or outside the red square, then the circumference will cross or intersect the square of grids, the grid of square. Okay, so do we know the size of this red square? The size of this red square. And we can know that the radius of the circle is 2 cm. And we have another 2 cm here. That's right. We have another 2 cm here. So the side of this square is 1 cm. Therefore, the area of this square will be 1 cm square. Therefore, the probability of winning a prize will be 1 cm square over 25 cm square, which is the area of 1 square. So this is 1 cm square is our favorable outcomes. The area represents the favorable outcomes. And this 25 cm square represents the total number of possible outcomes. So finally, the answer is 1 over 25.